Maverick News presents The Rick Walker Show. Defrag your mind.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the Maverick News channel. Great to have everyone here. Hello, Maverick family. One dead, 10 to 15 injured at the Super Bowl parade in Kansas City. We'll have the latest information for you in just a moment. We're following that. So fresh, we didn't have time to put it in the description or our thumbnails, but it is the top breaking news story of the hour. And earlier this morning, we had other breaking news. In fact, thanks to Kevin Meli, our Maverick News contributor in Crimea, we were among the first, if not the first, anywhere in the world to report on this Russian ship that was attacked and sunk by Ukraine. It's a landing vessel, and it's a significant development in the ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine. And as I say, Maverick News, thanks to Kevin Meli and his hard work overnight, was there on scene. We got the information as it was happening. The explosions were heard very, very early in the early morning hours in Crimea, only about 2 kilometers from where Kevin lives in Crimea, and he was instantly uploading video updates to us. And we have footage now released of the actual attack on the vessel. Russian authorities so far not really saying too much about it, which is customary in a situation like this for Russia. They don't usually speak very much, if at all, about their losses. And there are, certain rules in place for journalists over there that we are not restricted by here. So we will bring you all of the information, and I'll explain during the course of the program why that story really gives us an indication that these predictions, forecasts of where this war is headed have been really wrong, and have been for a long time. And I'll tell you more or less where I think it is going. I'll give you my own assessment based on this new development, this new information, and this new display of resolve from NATO, Western countries, in the face of a mounting information war. So we'll have all of that and more, including a news conference with First Nations leaders and members of Parliament representing the Bloc Québécois and the Green Party about the Chalk River nuclear waste facility. They want it stopped. Some would describe the site as a nuclear waste dump. The company involved sees it differently. We'll give you the variety of perspectives, all that, and a preview of the upcoming Canadian International Auto Show, an auto show that has evolved, is different this year as the auto industry faces the new government-imposed reality of electrification. Stay with me, all that and more coming up right here on the Maverick News channel.
We are Mavericks. We say no to the Trudeau and Biden New World Order. and to bugs. Because bugs are creepy and gross. And people should not eat bugs. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Hey, no! To bugs!
First up tonight, a shooting, multiple shootings at the Super Bowl parade, Kansas City. Let's go to KMBC to give you a sense of what the mainstream media live coverage is like tonight. And then we'll dig into some of the other footage that we've been able to obtain for you this evening. Here we go.
We're so away from where all this was taking place. You had little kids just, playing underneath our riser and, tossing the football around in this grass back here. And we should be so thankful that law enforcement got in there and stopped this when they did, because, there were just so many people in this area. So we're all definitely thankful for that.
Just such a tragic way to end.
It's definitely a tragic
day.
way to end the day, guys. Back to you.
All right, Kelly and Dennis, thank you. And we just received a statement from the chiefs reading in part, quote, "We are truly saddened by the senseless act of violence that happened outside of Union Station at the conclusion of today's parade and rally. Our hearts go out to the victims, their families, and all of Kansas City."
As we are about to go to News Chopper 9's Johnny Rollins, KMBC 9's Brian Johnson is reporting from Children's Mercy Hospital, where they are now, and we have a better handle, or starting to get a better handle on just how many people were affected by all of this today. At Children's Mercy, they are treating 12 patients right now. 12. 11 are children, 9 have gunshot wounds. Let me give that to you one more time. Children's Mercy treating 12 patients right now from what happened today. 11 are kids, 9 with gunshot wounds. To News Chopper 9's Johnny Rollins over the scene. Johnny?
Oh man, just when you think it can't get any worse, that is horrible. I mean, and what a tragedy this has been on so many levels. I want to set the scene for you here. This is going to be Union Station, that north lawn that not too long ago was packed with people. And as we zoom in here, you'll see the fountain out in front of Union Station, and right to the north of the fountain is where the stage is, and that's where all the activity was taking place and the celebration going on as well. It is if you've been to Union Station, and I'm sure most of you have been, it's the entrance, the main entrance to Union Station where this all took place. And you can see some barricades up there. We know that at one point they were performing CPR on at least one of the victims through there, and still some debris from the efforts to resuscitate those people left behind. A lot of investigators there too, police officers on the scene, trying to gather as much information and as much evidence as they can. I said, I mean, it is a nightmare on so many different levels, obviously for the victims who were just down there today to celebrate with everybody else, and how great and almost euphoric it's been since the Chiefs won their second in a row, and that's why everybody was here. And of course their families just devastated, that as well. And it's a nightmare for the Chiefs organization, and think of the players. They know that everybody was down here to see them, to celebrate with them, to honor them, and show their appreciation for the unbelievable season it was and the unbelievable win it was, and all that now is just completely washed away with the events that happened here. And it's a nightmare for the city too. I mean, we've never been shy at these rallies and the parades of talking about Kansas City is different. You talk about Los Angeles or other cities where they may have parades and they're turning cars over and burning them and looting stores, and we're always talking about Kansas City is just a different place. Well, unfortunately today proved that no city is immune to these tragedies, and that is not a designation I think that any of us ever thought we would hear as far as what transpired during the rally and the parade today. So very quiet, no evidence really, other than some trash, a little bit of trash here and there, that there was even a parade or a celebration here No cars left behind. Everybody has headed home, and headed home with, as you said a few minutes ago, a heavy heart, knowing that this changed the lives of a lot of people today, those victims who were directly affected. And I think all of us as well to think that this kind of spoils what has been our legacy, perhaps, as far as, I used to say one of the most livable cities left. And we're still that way. And again, it's only, unfortunately, 2 or however many suspects who did this today. But one way or the other, emotionally and on many different levels, this is going to be really hard to recover from. Johnny Rollins, News Chopper 9, back to you in the studio.
Hey, Johnny, real quick follow-up. As we're looking at a wide shot, obviously, there of the front door, the south side of Union Station. Can you give us a little better idea of just how big of a crime scene we're talking about? Does it basically extend across the front of Union Station, beyond it, in the garage? What can you tell from altitude?
Well, it's kind of tough to tell exactly where that crime scene tape. And it's not unusual to see police tape up at these events, just to kind of direct people in the right to the right area, or to wherever they're supposed to go, and keep them out of places they're not supposed to. But who would have thought that would turn into crime scene tape today? And that's all over the place, and it's really difficult to tell exactly where they are trying to block up.
Okay. So that's what's going on down there right now in Kansas City. And we also have footage from the scene. Here's a man being tackled as police take action to keep people safe. And let me get you this clip. This is police making arrests.
No, we tackled him.
We tackled him. Yeah.
When we tackled him, the gun came out. You're good. Who's the other guy? Back up. Hey, I got the gun. Hey, I got the gun. You filming this?
Yeah.
Who was the other guy that helped me?
I don't know. I think he took off already.
Wow. And here's an aerial shot of approximately the same moment as the apparent shooter was being tackled. Here it is. Effect the arrest. Wow. And here's footage of shots being fired. Also from the scene. You can hear it in the background. So the celebration now eclipsed by this incident. One dead, somewhere between 10 and maybe even 15 wounded, injured. And here's a zoomed in shot on the suspect. And more footage from the scene as police run in larger numbers to respond to the gunshots. Investigators saying at this point they don't think this was related to any kind of terrorism. At least that's what they're saying. They are indicating their preliminary investigation suggests this may be criminal in nature. But with that many people shot, I have to wonder what kind of crime they would have been committing other than maybe attempted murder. I'm not sure. It's an evolving story developing, and we continue to keep tabs on it here tonight. We also have this map of the scene to give you a better indication of where this exactly happened. It happened near Union Station, where the rally for the Super Bowl champions was taking place. As you can see, this happened at the end of the parade route and capped off the day-long celebration in Kansas City. It's a Union Station. It's it's been there a long time. It's over a century old. Missouri Governor Mike Parson and his wife were in attendance at the event when the shots were fired. They apparently are okay. And again, we will continue to follow the story. If we have more information to share with you, we will update you accordingly during the course of broadcast tonight. Another big story that we actually, we were there breaking the story, if not the first in the world, among the first for sure. It was so fresh, there was no video anywhere. When we first got word from Kevin over in Crimea that he had heard explosions, got me up in the middle of the night here, early morning there, and he started sending in video reports from the scene as he raced down to assess the situation. And we're going to have another interview with Kevin. We had him on earlier this morning and then again this afternoon, and we will have him on again momentarily to bring us up to date on the latest information. But before we go there, I will show you what it is we're talking about. This is footage of the Cesar Kunikov, and this is the ship we're talking about. I did share this video earlier today. I'm going to turn the audio down. You don't need the audio. It's just distracting. Okay, let me bring this up. This is a landing ship This is footage from some years ago, showing you what it looks like. And you'll see that the front end opens up and they use it to bring in soldiers, heavy equipment. They can land right up on beaches. It's also an armed vessel. And you'll see here that it opens up in the front. Again, this is the ship that was targeted by drones overnight by Ukraine. A significant development. And it comes as the U.S. Senate yesterday passed a $95 billion military aid package for Ukraine, Israel, and U.S. NATO activities in Taiwan. So that gives you a sense of how big this ship is. And in a moment you'll see, once these soldiers clear out, they will start unloading or driving out in armored vehicles. Now, at first it was difficult to know what information was factual, what wasn't. As you know, there's a lot of fake news going around. It's difficult sometimes to determine even if video is real or recycled, and I was very worried about that in the early morning hours when this story first broke, because we were not getting any kind of official confirmation one way or another from either Ukraine or Russia. But I knew with certainty that we were dealing with some sort of a substantial attack, because Kevin had personally heard the explosions and had seen with his wife a fireball. So this ship was attacked with drones. It appears they are a style of drone or a type of drone that is designed to fly very close to the surface of the water. It hit the ports where these drones managed to hit the port side of this vessel, doing substantial damage, and it did sink. Now, the word that we have is the 300 approximately crew members aboard are all safe. They were able to get off the ship and onto a rescue vessel before it went to the bottom. And when we speak to Kevin, I'm sure we'll learn a little bit more about why this is significant, the geography, why the geography is significant here. And that's because this war in Ukraine is not just a land-based war. It is very much a naval battle because of the ports and its strategic location. That is also why Russia values Crimea so much. It's because of where they dock their naval fleet. Here's a picture of the ship that was sunk. Again, this is not, it's not an aircraft carrier. It is not a battleship, but it is still a significant loss for Russia. And perhaps most important for Ukraine is that it is a public relations win, a propaganda or information warfare win that they badly need right now, because even though the Senate passed that $95 billion military aid package, it still has to pass in the House. So there's one more hurdle for it to clear. And we know the Republicans and Donald Trump are opposed to approving it, which is very interesting to me to see this divide in support. But that is the reality that Ukraine is facing now. Will they be able to push it through? I would say it will be easier for them to have that funding approved now, those who want it, because of this. This is now going to give Ukraine and those who support the war effort on the NATO side ammunition to go into this next vote with and say, hey, all we have to do is provide the money, provide the aid, provide the support, and Ukraine can actually win this battle. Now, I'll also say that the reason this is significant is because this shows us that this war is far from over. We keep hearing from military analysts and pundits. We've heard from the very beginning, depending on which side they seem to support, that the conflict would be over quickly. The other side doesn't stand a chance. We're told over and over again, this thing will be over in a matter of weeks or maybe months. And that's the narrative that is spun up repeatedly. And yet, here we are, nearly 3 years into it, and there's still bloodshed. And now we're seeing this story, which runs in direct contradiction, frankly, to all of the predictions of an early end and an easy Russian win that we've been hearing over and over again. This indicates that Ukraine still has resources and resolve. And soon, it appears, they'll have billions of additional dollars in funding. And unfortunately, that all means that there's going to be continued bloodshed, loss of life, and it's going to absolutely have an impact on us here in North America indirectly as well, because it's going to impact our economy. Kevin will dig into all of that and more when he joins us here shortly. We do also have footage now of the actual attack. This was shot from a submarine. And that in itself is significant, and we'll be talking to Kevin about that. It's significant because this may be actually a NATO sub. And if NATO is sending in resources and personnel to continue this conflict, things get a little bit more complicated, because now you might be using not Ukrainian soldiers, but soldiers from NATO countries, and even maybe vessels that are flagged and attached, associated with NATO countries, not Ukraine. I don't know, but it seems that that might be partly the case here. And even the drones themselves, I'm seeing tonight conflicting information coming out. On the one side, we're seeing that NATO is saying that the drones that were used in the attack were manufactured in Ukraine. But there are other reports coming out suggesting that the drones might actually be NATO issue or manufactured in a NATO country. And Kevin will give us that information as well when we speak to him when we come back. But here's the footage released by Ukraine of this ship being hit by this drone. It was being monitored on video with what appears to be a periscope mounted camera. And here we go. This is what it looked like. Choppy water, bouncing around, a little bit difficult to see, but there's the ship. And there it is again. It looks like maybe this is this could be video footage from the drone itself. I'm not sure, but definitely going back to or coming from what appears to be a submarine. And there was also an aircraft in the area, or maybe even two. Yeah, see, there it is, and there's the explosion. Massive fireball. And I think that explosion is the result of maybe the cargo that was being carried, not necessarily just as a result of the drone strike. And the reason I say that is because there are also images of a rescue vessel that came into the area to get and that's a shot from the drone itself, I think. Right up close to the vessel. As you can see, it's getting closer and closer. Yep. And so, clearly, this conflict not over. All right, let's take a quick break, and when we come back on the other side, Kevin Meli will join us from Ukraine with the latest information on this attack on a Russian ship that has resulted in that vessel being sunk. I'll be right back.
Feel the vibrations. Our quest continues. The truth is out there. We are Mavericks.
The New World Order. Government overreach. The Great Reset. Mainstream media lies. Now more than ever, independent voices are needed. Donate now, at freedomreporters.com. That's freedomreporters.com. Maverick News. The antivirus program. For your mind.
Kevin, welcome back to the program. Thank you so much for the work you're doing, for the updates overnight, and for coming back again now to bring us up to date. This attack in Crimea, where should we begin? I guess bring us up to date on what's the latest information you have.
Well, the latest information I have from a source in the government is, although this has not been officially announced by the Ministry of Defense of Russia, the ship was sunk. It was sunk by a single strike from a British drone, sea-based drone. At the time, there was a NATO aircraft that was circling above where the ship was hit. Now, was it a NATO aircraft with a Ukrainian pilot? I don't know. But it was a fighter jet. The drone struck the ship and it started to sink. It sank slowly, but all 300 crew members were rescued. The command of the ship has been taken into custody for questioning about how, with their radar systems, they could not have seen a drone in the area, how they could not have noticed a submarine in the area, and how they could not have noticed the airplane flying around up there. So, at the time, there was also surveillance drones from the U.S. flying. There was a surveillance plane from the U.S. flying south of us. And, so there's questions about how the ship was struck. It was struck off the... Oh, go ahead.
So these are important details, and I think we should come back to these, because what you're saying, some of what you're saying, I think, could be key pieces of information that could lead to a broader conflict. But let's just backtrack a little bit and then just tell us then, now that we know kind of what the latest situation is, tell us how this began for you, because you were one of the first people to be alerted to this because you heard the explosions.
Yeah, I was up with my wife at 5:30 this morning. We were planning to go to the city of Simferopol from the Yalta region, and we heard a big boom. Looked out the curtains, and there was a giant fireball off the coast of it's a village. It's called Simis, and it's just a couple of kilometers from where we live. We could actually see the fireball. We saw the fighter jet circle it and then fly off. And shortly after that, we heard 6 or 7 more large explosions. And at the time, we were debating if it was a missile launch from a Russian ship or a strike. But we did not see any more fireballs. We found out later that there were 6 drones also incoming to the same area. And it was the Crimean air defense systems which shot down the 6 drones. So that was how it started for us. We drove over to the city, since we have to drive past there anyway to get to where we were going. Tried to get down in there. We're not allowed. There were military trucks going down, fire trucks, and at this point we understand that they were rescue crews for the crew.
I see. And so we don't really know for sure yet if there were any injuries or even casualties officially, because we're still waiting for information from the Russian authorities. Is that correct?
Well, Russia officially will not make a statement about this. It is up to the Russian Ministry of Defense to make any announcements during the special military operation. I have had it confirmed to me by a Russian official that there were no casualties. All 300 crew members were evacuated from the ship and the crew.
Okay. So this ship, can you tell us a little bit about it? It's some sort of a landing vessel?
Yeah, it's a large landing craft, and what its purpose is they can actually bring it right up to the shore. The front end comes down. Earlier today, you did a video that actually showed it in operation, and it unloads troops, tanks, heavy weaponry like artillery right onto a shore. That's why it's called a landing ship. This particular ship, the Cesar Kunikov, was built and launched in 1986 from Gdansk, Poland, at a cost of about 2 billion rubles in today's dollars, 21 million in US dollars. The ship itself carries an armament of 2 122 millimeter Grad launchers and either 2 57 millimeter guns or an artillery bank. So one or the other. This particular ship was damaged in 2022 right after the launch of the special military operation in Berdansk, which is right next to Mariupol in the Azov Sea. And in that attack on the ship, the commander was killed. He died a few days later. It took them a while to fix it because they couldn't get spare parts because of sanctions. It was put back into service. It was repaired in Sevastopol, put back into service, and now sunk.
The geography here is important because this is happening in a key area where the Russian naval fleet needs to navigate. We're talking about, where Russia is able to keep its vessels in port. I think that, since the beginning of the conflict, we've seen Russia kind of move some of its ships around. Can you speak to that? Why is this important geographically?
Well, up until recently, the ships were harbored in the Sevastopol Bay. But because they had a couple of ships in the repair docks struck by drones, and the Ukrainians were shooting at Sevastopol trying to hit the ships all the time, they actually rebased them in Novorossiysk, which is to the west of us on the other side of the Kerch Strait. This particular ship, why it was where it was, there's no telling. Simys is not quite the southernmost tip of Crimea. The southernmost tip is Feroz, which is just a few miles away. So it's almost the very southern tip. We have seen Navy ships fire missiles towards Ukraine from the same location, though. So we don't know what it was carrying. Was it, hauling munitions to Sevastopol, or just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time?
So, well, we just saw yesterday that in the U.S., the Senate passed a $95 billion military aid package for Ukraine, Israel, and to build up
Taiwan.
the military presence in Taiwan. Do you think this attack is connected to that in terms of public relations at all?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I think the US and UK militaries were involved in this, and the main goal was to get a big strike and to be able to go to the House of Representatives in the United States, who are claiming that they are not going to pass it. The House Speaker has said he won't even bring it to the floor, but the Democrats are trying to bypass him. But by bringing a big propaganda piece to the U.S. House and saying, see, if we give Ukraine more money, more weapons, then they can retake Crimea. Now, it's a propaganda piece. I'm expecting Russia's typical is about 48 hours after a strike like this, they will strike Ukraine massively. So I don't think it's going to do anything but maybe dislodge some money from the United States. And the problem is even if that money is given by the Congress, the full Congress, most of this money is going to pay for building new weapons and new ammunition. Some of the ammunition may go in a few months, but most of what will be built will be new things that'll take several years to build, and they will actually replenish the U.S. stockpile in the end, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, I've been researching that end of things, and what I'm getting from this attack is that, unfortunately, the conflict is not over. This is something that's going to drag on longer. The U.S., NATO, I think they're determined to continue to pump resources into this. I've seen, you don't hear much about it, but manufacturing of armaments here, it has ramped up over the past year, even year and a half. And my take on it is that the U.S. has more munitions than people realize. So I think this is likely to continue for an extended period of time, and that unfortunately means we're looking at more bloodshed.
Yeah, we hear a lot of people for the last year and a half now saying this conflict will end in a couple of months. Well, as we can see, it hasn't. I don't think it is going to. You know, everyone talks about how the U.S. munitions have been depleted, the European munitions have been depleted, and I don't believe that for a minute. Every time they say the United States has nothing more to give, they find some to give to Israel, or some more weapons to give to Ukraine or Taiwan. Where are they getting them from if they don't have any left?
Yeah, I know that I've discovered that they've been quietly ramping up production of shells and other munitions in factories in both Canada and the U.S., especially in the U.S. And there's some places around, steel towns and where the steel industry is, where they're manufacturing a lot more than people realize. I suspect as well there's more money being dumped into this than people that are seeing as well. So that's something that I think is of real serious concern.
I can guarantee that. I mean, the government, particularly the U.S. Department of Defense and the CIA, use a lot of what they call black sleeve funding, which is money that is not on the books. It just magically appears. And quite honestly, what currently drives the economy in the United States and probably Canada is the military industrial complex. Mm-hmm. It's keeping our politicians rich because they're all invested in it. They're on their members of the board. So it makes them money. It allows them to hire people and keep people employed so that inflation isn't as painful in the United States and Canada as it may be in much of the European Union.
Yeah, definitely. And I can tell you as well, just an observation, just part of, what I'm basing my comments on is I've seen billboards in my hometown where they're hiring to put people to work in a factory where they make light armored vehicles. So
sure, there you go.
They're ramping stuff up there. They have been for the past year. They are, if anybody wants a job, they can get a job right over there. And it pays well. But I find it honestly, personally, very distasteful when I see the politicians stand up at a podium and talk about how this is good for the economy, as though that should be a consideration at all when we're talking about war. But they do it. I've seen them do it.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane. But that's what human beings are like, I guess. Now, just to kind of pivot back here to, your references to the drones and the aircraft and whether, these might be NATO resources that are being deployed. That's a significant thing. That's important because if NATO is getting directly involved in this conflict, if there are fingerprints on there, then that I think might be a very risky thing. What's your view on that?
Well, NATO has been involved in it for a while. We always have a relatively good idea of when there's going to be an attack on Crimea because we've got all the surveillance drones flying around just out of the territorial waters of Russia. So we do see this quite often, particularly the U.S. and Great Britain. But the British drones, they're actually, this is kind of like when they accuse Iran of selling drones to Russia. The United Kingdom sends parts to Ukraine. They assemble them there. They put a different name on it. But they are being, guided by NATO forces. Now, I was also told by again, an official. This is not confirmed by the government whatsoever or the Ministry of Defense that the submarine was NATO as well. So, dangerous ground that we're treading on.
Yes, because if this is happening, if NATO is like really directly involved like that, if that submarine was right there and was directly involved, if that was a NATO aircraft with a NATO pilot in it, then that is like a further escalation, and Russia is likely to respond with further escalation, and maybe with escalation into other NATO countries. If they hit one of these official NATO countries, not this pseudo NATO country of Ukraine, which is not officially a NATO country, then it's attack on one is an attack on all, and we could be into a really dangerous situation, right?
Yeah. This is why I think the command of this ship are being questioned, because whether it was a NATO submarine or not, how did it get that close to be able to take video that you published earlier showing it? Mm-hmm. And if that submarine was in what Russia considers its territorial waters, now first, NATO will claim that it isn't Russian territorial waters, it's Ukrainian at best, or international waters. But Russia, because they're at a time of war, have extended their territorial waters out legally, as long as you assume that it is Russian territorial waters. If that submarine was in it, it means that, they're open to being attacked. Now, it's kind of like that drone they shot down a year and a half ago. Well, they're going to be very careful in starting a direct conflict with NATO, even in that case. But I don't think it will go unanswered.
Mm-hmm. Now, what have you seen any kind of response, a military response yet from Russia? You say that you expect that they'll hit back hard. Has there been anything yet that you've been aware of? Not directly related to this. I did see an attack up in the Avdiivka area where the Ukrainians tried to attack the Russian forces, and they unleashed a massive bombardment of cluster bombs and took out, I don't have the exact numbers, but I'm told it was somewhere around 1,500 Ukrainian soldiers. Now, some people are saying this was a response. I don't know for sure. I have my doubts because, like clockwork, Russia will wait a couple of days before they do anything. And as what happens is the Ministry of Defense will consult with Putin and his cabinet, and Putin will decide what the best response is. But I'm even seeing in some very reliable Ukrainian sources that they are expecting that their maritime and infrastructure will be struck sometime in the next couple of days. I was going over a list of ships that have been lost, and both sides have lost quite a few ships in this conflict. Until I went and actually looked for the list, I really was not aware how integral the naval aspect of this has been. Obviously, this is also why this attack overnight is so significant. Can you talk about why the naval aspect of this is important?
Well, I think the biggest thing as far as Russia is concerned is they early on tried to eliminate the Ukrainian Navy. Now, they did eliminate a good portion of it. All of these attacks against Russia are being done with sea-based drones. Now, the drones tend to be propaganda for Ukraine. They aren't hitting significant ships. You know, a landing craft, it's expensive. Who knows what it was hauling, if anything, but they're not hitting the missile launching ships. This particular ship they sunk can shoot something like, you know, one Grad missile every 5 seconds. But we have watched Russian Navy ships not too long ago, before they moved everything off to Novorossiysk, out there firing Iskander missiles. And they're firing these missiles from the Black Sea, the Caspian Sea. So, you know, it is a valid target for Ukraine. It's something they should probably attempt to sink. But their ship, you know, everything they've sunk thus far have been a small landing ship, large landing ship, the Moskva, which, you know, was a battleship, but, you know, they aren't hitting significant targets as far as what will happen in the special military operation.
Yeah. So as I look at the calendar, we're approaching the 3rd anniversary of the beginning of this escalated conflict.
Yes.
And again, you know, we heard from the beginning many predictions that this would be over quickly, you know, both sides making predictions like that. But here we are 3 years later, and it is still dragging on. What are your thoughts on that?
You know, the same guys who have been predicting that for the last 3 years are still predicting that. I think it's going to drag on for a while. How long? I can't really make a guess on that. Russia is making significant advances. Now we have this new general in place, and, you know, he's called the Butcher of Mariupol, and he was given that name by his own men because he ran them through the meat grinder, wouldn't allow them to withdraw. But I'm seeing reports both from the Ukrainian side and the Russian side that they have men like in Avdiivka, they've lost 30% of their soldiers because these men are moving to the other side. They're surrendering, going to Russia, and many of them are actually fighting on the Russian side against the Ukrainians. So they've made significant advances there. They cut that city in half. They've cut off the supply road. Now, Ukraine tries to make it sound good. Well, we have some, you know, back roads we can use, but they've got rain, snow, warm weather, and they have a hard time moving heavy stuff through those areas. And Russia is making, you know, a kilometer and a half into those areas in single days. So they're just running all over there. Now, there's word the Ukrainian general has moved significant forces there to attempt to defend the city. He refuses to surrender the city. Zelensky doesn't want to surrender the city. And this is where the conflict with Zaluzhnyi came in, as Zaluzhnyi didn't want his men there. He wanted to surrender the city and, you know, retreat. So I think we will see big gains here in the near future. However, I have heard from guys on the front lines up in the Donetsk and Lugansk areas saying that they do have some issues up there. They do have some minor gains by the Ukrainians. They get hit hard. They hit back. So, you know, you can't necessarily listen to everything you hear in the news.
Yeah, no, I know that Avdiivka has become a central part of the conflict right now. The town, I guess, is almost empty, but we're also seeing that both sides are digging in. They don't want to give any ground there. It must be a strategic location for both sides. And I know that I don't know. I don't understand why that particular location has become so central to this. But just within days, we've seen the people on the Ukrainian side, the officials on the Ukrainian side, saying we're going to bring in reinforcements, so hold the line here. Why
The
is
problem
this?
is they aren't holding the line.
Yeah, they're talking
So,
about bringing in reinforcements, but I don't know how they do that.
well, I did see a report from the Ukrainian side earlier today that said even if they bring reinforcements in, it means they're weakening the lines in other places. And then you will see significant inroads from Russia in those areas. So, they're really trying to fight with not enough guys to be able to hold all their lines. Now, Russia does dig in when they take an area, but they're advancing, digging in, advancing, digging in, advancing, digging in, whereas the Ukrainians are losing those footholds that they've created for the Russians to use. So,
Yeah, and I know that in Canada as well, we've seen just this week another story that they have a huge stockpile here of munitions, expired shells that are NATO standard that the Ukrainian military wants to get its hands on because they say don't destroy them, send them over to us, we'll blow them up over here. So
yeah, and it's interesting because Russia on a daily basis will put out announcements that they're going to destroy old munitions tomorrow at this time. So you hear this talk about how Russia is running out of missiles, they're running out of drones, they're running out of artillery shells, but they're destroying their old stockpiles, their old Soviet stockpiles. So they're getting their shells somewhere. We really do have a wartime economy here, and the manufacturers here are churning stuff out, a lot of stuff.
all right. Well, I think that kind of brings us up to date on this story, Kevin. Is there anything
Yep.
you think we might have missed or that you need
Nope,
to add?
I don't think so. I'll kind of keep an eye on things over the next couple of days and let you know what I hear next.
All right. Kevin Meli. And again, just tell people how they can find your work.
You can find me on YouTube at InfoWars Press.
Excellent. Kevin Meli, thank you very much for all the
Thank
hard
you,
work.
Rick.
And this was, a huge story for Maverick News, thanks to you, because you were up at the earliest hours of the morning and on top of
Yes.
this story immediately. So we were one of the first organizations to get this information out. Thanks to you. Appreciate it.
Yep, thank you.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
We're back, and it's time to move on to our next story, which is another big one. And I know that it has been a concern for many of you for months, if not years. More people becoming aware of this issue surrounding Chalk River and a nuclear waste facility there. Now, some people would call it a nuclear waste dump. I don't think it's quite like that, but still real concerns about possible contamination of the water supply, possible disrespect or maybe violations of First Nations land rights. All this coming to the surface gain today during a news conference in Ottawa. So this proposed facility is slated for construction on the traditional territories of the Kabawik First Nation, and it has sparked legal challenges, accusations of inadequate consultation. And Chief Lance Haymond of that First Nation community, speaking during this news conference today, emphasized what he views as the importance of protecting clean water and the environment. Now, this news conference was attended also by members of Parliament from the Bloc Québécois and the Green Party. They're denouncing the project, and they say Canadians should reject nuclear waste. Well, we have nuclear power. We have to deal with the waste. This is the facility where it's being handled. I'm not a huge fan of nuclear power. I understand the realities surrounding it. I'm an advocate for oil myself. Not that I get paid by the oil industry. I would just rather see oil burned than have to deal with the waste from nuclear reactors after the fact, and that's really what we're dealing with here. We can go to this news conference now, and this project, I guess, has been approved. There was a federal regulator approved this proposal from Canadian Nuclear Laboratories last month, and that's why we're seeing now this renewed opposition from First Nations communities and these members of Parliament representing those two political parties. Let's start off here first with comments from Elizabeth May from the Green Party, who has extreme concerns about the possible environmental impacts and possible health impacts as well.
First Nation and others who have brought...
Oh, hey.
There's nothing quite...
Just 1 second while I recue. Here we go. Oh, we lost her. We lost Elizabeth May. Oh, I have the wrong tab up now. Hang on. I thought, no, it jumped on me. Sorry, folks. Just give me a second here, and I will get Elizabeth May requeued. And here we go.
We're here on the lands of the Algonquin and Anishinaabe people. To them we say Miigwech every single day. Aujourd'hui, nous sommes ensemble et en solidarité, unifiés, comme Chef Haymond déjà il vient de dire. Thank you, Chief Haymond, for your leadership. Thank you to the Kabawik First Nation and others who have brought before the court a judicial challenge to the decision of the Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission to rubber stamp, yet again, a request to put nuclear waste too close to a river, and against this express wishes and clear statement of principle from the Algonquin peoples on whose lands this near-surface nuclear waste will be placed. Let's just be very clear. Nous avons comme un Parlement fait une décision en faveur de le droit des peuples autochtones sur la Déclaration des Nations Unies. Et un des principes fondamentaux, c'est pour le consentement des peuples autochtones. As Chief Haymond just said, the clear language of UNDRIP, which was accepted and approved as law in this country, is free, prior, and informed consent of First Nations and Indigenous peoples before things are done in and on their territory. And now we have the approval of a near surface, they call it, a mound of nuclear waste of 80 years of experimental nuclear debris, 1.1 kilometer from the Ottawa River. In whose interest do you suppose the government of Canada ignores UNDRIP over the desires of the Algonquin peoples? Far too often, the name of the corporate entity behind nuclear so-called renaissance in this country, behind such things as putting nuclear waste on Indigenous lands. The name is not well known to us. It's Atkins Realis. It's SNC-Lavalin. They own Chalk River. They are Canada Nuclear Laboratories. They are the powerful corporate lobbying interest behind ignoring UNDRIP. So I'm proud to stand here on behalf of the Green Party of Canada. C'est un grand honneur d'être ici avec les chefs autochtones et mes amis et collègues. Un grand merci au Bloc québécois pour cette conférence de presse. Et nous sommes ensemble contre ce projet nucléaire. We stand together and support the Algonquin peoples, the Kebawak First Nation, and all the chiefs who are here today. It's an enormous honor. Miigwech.
Okay, and we will go to this First Nations representative here next. And yeah, here we go. One moment while I cue this up for you. Here we go.
For you today as Chief of Kebawak First Nation, joined by the powerful coalition that spans Indigenous chiefs, federal political parties, municipalities, environmental groups, and many concerned citizens. We are here today in the nation's capital at the sacred confluence of the Gatineau, Rideau, and Ottawa rivers to speak about a matter dear to all of our hearts, water and protecting our watershed. The Kitsizibi is the heart and the bloodline of the Algonquin Nation. Together we raised our unified voice to address a matter of great importance, the urgent need to halt the construction of the near-surface disposal facility at Chalk River. Je me tiens devant vous aujourd'hui en tant que chef de la Première Nation de Kebawak, à laquelle se joint une coalition composée des chefs autochtones, des partis politiques fédéraux, des municipalités, des groupes environnementaux et des nombreux citoyens concernés. Ensemble, nous élevons notre voix pour aborder une question de grande importance, le besoin d'urgence d'arrêter la construction d'une installation de gestion de déchets près de la surface at Chalk River. I extend my gratitude to my fellow chiefs who are standing with me today, members from our community who are outside in the process of getting together the rally, the Bloc Québécois, the Green Party, the Council of Canadians, the Municipality of Gatineau, the Sierra Club Canada Foundation, and the concerned citizens of Renfrew County and area, and countless others who have joined our movement against a project that poses both environmental and social threats. And more than 3,000 concerned citizens have voiced their opposition by signing a House of Commons petition to bring the ongoing project to a halt in the new year, underscoring the pressing need for an Artemis review as well. Last week, Kebawak First Nation took a significant step by submitting a judicial review challenging the decision by the Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission to authorize the NSDF, or the construction of the NSDF. La semaine dernière, la Nation Kebawak a soumis une révision.
Okay, and back into French, so we'll just wrap that up. And I can tell you that the Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, is saying that the approval of this disposal facility was handled by a regulator. He insists that the decision was not political. Others obviously think that maybe that's not the case. And Elizabeth May, pointing to what she says is the true ownership of the company that controls this facility. It is slated to be built on the Chalk River Laboratories site which is about a 2-hour drive northeast of Ottawa, where nuclear technology is tested. It's not just a disposal facility, as I indicated earlier. It is a testing site. And in fact, I have one of the company's many corporate videos queued up here. I just want to run a little bit of what they have on their side, just for some balance and context. Here it is. Canadian Nuclear
Over the past 5 years, Canadian Nuclear Laboratories has been maturing as an organization, reshaping how we fit into the future of Canadian nuclear science. In 2021, we launched an ambitious corporate strategy, Vision 2030, that transforms CNL into a modern, sustainable organization, making meaningful contributions in clean energy, in restoring and protecting the environment, and improving the health of Canadians and others around the world. CNL has developed an integrated waste strategy that carefully plans the life cycle management of all types of waste at CNL-operated sites across Canada. This comprehensive approach ensures that CNL has the skills, the facilities, and the technologies to safely manage our current and future waste streams. The CNL Integrated Waste Strategy will continue to be updated periodically and is an important part of our engagement with the public and Indigenous communities. The newly commissioned sort and segregation facility in Chalk River provides a dedicated space to refine and improve the storage and handling of legacy waste packages. This facility is just the start of a broader effort to build out the necessary infrastructure to safely address CNL's waste liabilities. Our vision for a waste campus continues to develop, and we expect meaningful progress in the coming years. Taking guidance from industry best practices as well as international and domestic precedents, CNL is proposing the construction of an engineered containment mound called the Near Surface Disposal Facility as the solution for low-level radioactive waste at Chalk River Laboratories. Throughout this current license period, CNL has conducted extensive stakeholder and Indigenous engagements, as well as extensive technical and environmental assessments on our proposed facility, while refining the project plans and ensuring technical readiness. CNL has built a skilled team to conduct its current decommissioning program, with over 60 buildings safely demolished or decommissioned within the past 5 years. We have made great strides in removing these potential hazards, reducing the risk to people and the environment, and laying the groundwork to deliver our science and technology mandate at the revitalized Chalk River campus.
Wow. I don't know what to say. It's nuclear waste. We have nuclear power plants. You have nuclear waste. We're going to see issues like this emerge more often in the future as time goes on. Nuclear waste takes a long time for that stuff to break down. Anyway, let's take another break. We'll come back and we'll continue with the news of the day.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
would normally save this for the end of the broadcast, but I'm going to show it to you now. And I just have to say, I'm going to turn the audio down so we don't get a copyright strike. This guy, whoever it is, the owner's not seen here. This guy has a unique way of walking his dog. This has just been stuck in my mind since seeing it earlier today, so I'm gonna run this. He's using a drone to walk his dog. Now, that might work for his dog. I don't know if that would work for my dog. my dog would be like running at 70 miles per hour with the drone in tow, and probably wrap it around a couple of trees. That'll be the end of the drone. Anyway, I just thought that was funny. Yeah, because my dog Cosmo, he just has me in tow and wraps me around trees. It's just like the Flintstones and Dino. There's also this story tonight. See if I got the footage. These climate change activists went into the National Archives and committed an act of vandalism that again, it just blows my mind. They threw pink powder or red powder all over themselves and on the protective encasement that surrounds the U.S. Constitution. So this happened about 2:30 this afternoon. And at first, security just kind of stood around, didn't do anything. Then they finally detained the two people involved and arrested them. These two activists appear to be advocating for what they say is a livable climate for all, saying the principles under which the United States was founded is what they were fighting for, a livable climate. And after this happened, the building, everybody was evacuated from the building, and it was shut down for a time. And it looks like it will reopen tomorrow. I had the footage here. Let me just grab it again for you. Should be able to pull it up here pretty quickly. Here we are. Yeah, this is crazy. We're seeing a lot more of this. Personally, I don't even get it. Like, I don't see how they think this will help them achieve their goal or win the hearts and minds of the public for their cause. This just pisses people off, I think.
We are determined to foment a rebellion. We will not be held accountable to laws in which we have no voice or representation. This country is founded on the conditions that all men are created equally and endowed with the inalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We're calling for all people to have all these rights, not just wealthy white men. We all deserve clean air, water, food, and a livable climate. Right now, our children, we don't want to see our children have to live through the end of civilization, but that's the path we're going. Joe Biden, we need you to declare a climate emergency. We need you to immediately desubsidize from fossil fuels and start moving towards real climate solutions. Right now, there are millions of refugees, climate refugees, in the United States alone. There are many more across the world, and there's many more coming. There's people all over the world suffering from the emissions we historically emitted and that we continue to emit. We need to change how we do things. We need to change systems and value the lives and well-being of people over the profits of the many. We need to declare a climate emergency. President Biden, please declare a climate emergency. America, please declare a climate emergency. This is terrifying. We need to act like we're terrified, or else no one will believe that this is really as bad as it is. You gotta clear the area.
Oh, we have to leave? We have to leave, Governor.
Time to go.
We have to leave.
I don't know. I'm just tired of it. Okay, so you get rid of oil. What do you replace it with? You replace it with wind? Well, there are big problems with wind, right? Around here, we have a lot of wind turbines. They've caused all kinds of problems. It appears they have through vibration, they're disturbing the groundwater. They've ruined the well water for people living on the farmland around here. So there are real concerns about that. People are now around here now are trying to deal with that. The wind turbines kill birds. Solar isn't reliable enough, especially in northern climates. It doesn't produce enough to replace the energy that we have from oil and natural gas, not by a long shot. All you have to do is look up a graph and see how much electricity is generated by wind and solar, and it's not very much. We've tapped out most of the hydroelectric power, that being power generated by dams and waterfalls like Niagara Falls, which generates a lot of electricity, but we've pretty much tapped that out. So if you get rid of oil and natural gas, what are you left with? Nuclear. And then what did we just see? Just moments ago, we have nuclear waste, which is a big problem. Where do you put it? How do you deal with it? Nobody wants it in their backyard, obviously. Don't blame anybody for not wanting the stuff in their backyard. And that stuff takes a long time. Generations, many generations to break down. Like I'm not an expert on the science, but it scares me. I wouldn't want to live next to a nuclear waste facility of any kind. I wouldn't want to live downriver from one. Period. I wouldn't want to assume the risk. But here we are. And then these young people sit there and say, you know, we need to save the environment by getting rid of... Well, what are you going to replace it with? Because if you don't have energy, people will starve and freeze in the dark. Big problem. That's the problem, really, isn't it? It's people, especially young, naive, idealistic, and easily impressionable, brainwashable people, are sold fear and a lot of problems that they fill their heads with, and they're not really given viable solutions, in my view. And so we're trying to get to a more electrified future with automobiles, and we're already seeing the big problems with that. Now, I do have queued up for you here tonight just a short segment that I did for the SST car show, because the Canadian International Auto Show kicks off this week, media preview day tomorrow, and I have this preview of the auto show coming up on the other side of this for you. So this is a first look at what you can expect to see on the automotive front in Toronto starting this week Over 45 different auto manufacturers represented there, and it gives us a glimpse into the future of not only where the industry is going, but where our economy and our environment might be going as well. So stay with me.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
A preview of the Canadian International Auto Show. Now, the Canadian International Auto Show is Canada's largest indoor auto show. In fact, it's the biggest consumer show of any type, period, in the country. And it's good to see that it is back, because during the pandemic, auto shows really took it on the chin. In fact, some auto shows still haven't recovered. Some are still not operating, although they are coming back. Now, even though they're coming back in a different way. And when I say that, I mean auto manufacturers generally have been the driving force behind major auto shows like the North American International Auto Show, the LA Auto Show, New York, and Toronto, Vancouver. Well, now the auto companies are not spending as much on marketing. The industry has changed a lot since the COVID pandemic, because they shut down for a while, they weren't operating. Then the industry changed. There were supply chain issues, and even now, production has not really recovered to the same levels that it was at pre-pandemic. As a result, dealers are kind of selling everything that they can get their hands on. It's changing a little bit, but the manufacturers, the bottom line is they've pulled back on their marketing. They're not spending as much on auto show presentations. So local dealers are filling the void. Now, this year at the Canadian International Auto Show, you'll see, I think, over 40 different brands represented. And as part of that, you'll see exotics there. You'll see collectibles. You'll see Mattel there with their Hot Wheels display. So it really is an entertainment extravaganza. Here are some of the highlights. They have a display that they'll have a display celebrating 50 years of Grand Touring automobiles. That's really a dealership that has stepped up again. They're always involved, and they bring high-end exotic sports cars, collectibles, new vehicles to the table for the public to ogle and lust after. The Pfaff Auto Group will be there as well with their collection of high-end exotic automobiles, exotic sports cars, as you can see. Pfaff is one of Canada's leading premier retailers of sports cars, supercars, and hypercars. You'll see McLarens, Paganis, and more as part of the Pfaff Auto Group display. Now, Auto Exotica is a little bit different. There you have collections of vintage collectible automobiles and even movie cars, like this replica of the Batmobile Tumbler that will be on display, along with some collectible exotics, most of them owned by individual collectors. That whole display is sponsored by Castrol. Camp Jeep will be back. That's always a cool attraction. You see people inside navigating up and down ramps, testing out the electric Jeeps inside, testing out the four-wheel drive capability of those vehicles, and that's always a big attraction. Then there's this Cobble Beach classics tribute to performance. Now, the Cobble Beach Concours d'Elegance is a separate auto show. It is the premier classic car show in Canada, held once every year, and you get the best of the best of the best collectible vintage vehicles on display at Cobble Beach. These are Concours quality, perfectly restored, high-end vehicles. And what they do at the Canadian International Auto Show is they devote one room just to Cobble Beach collectibles, and they put on a display there. It is really second to none, and it just whets your appetite for the Cobble Beach Concours d'Elegance.
Switching to an electric vehicle is a smart.
We'll go right back to that in just a moment, folks. Hang on. And here we go back. In 3, 2, 1. Sorry about that. Seen automobiles. And the event is held each September on Georgian Bay, just north of Owen Sound. So go check that out if you go to the auto show, and then check out their website, find out when that event is held in September, and you might want to go take in that event as well. Then there's Electric City. You will see the newest electric vehicles on display as part of that exhibit, including this year the Tesla Cybertruck. They'll have an indoor electric vehicle test track as well. So you'll see, and you might even have an opportunity to test drive an electric vehicle inside the convention center. There'll be a display of Ferraris there. Lego will be back, and no doubt again with a life-size replica of some sports car, usually something like a Lamborghini, which they put together entirely with pieces of Lego. And then Mattel will be there with their display. And this year, no question, one of the big attractions is going to be that Barbie Corvette, a real Corvette used in the Barbie movie, a 57 Vet, coming to Canada, as it says there, for the first time at the 2024 Canadian International Auto Show. Now, they also will have other full-size, life-size Hot Wheels vehicles, including the Diora 2, legendary. And I've seen that car at other auto shows as well, but it's one of the most unique designs from Hot Wheels. The first Diora was introduced as one of the original 16 Hot Wheels that debuted in 1968. The Diora 2 was built to help commemorate the 35th anniversary of Hot Wheels, an homage to the groundbreaking spirit and originality embodied by the original stunt brand. Then you've got these Loop Coupes that will be there. They're built to defy gravity, and these are vehicles that they actually do take on these life-size loop-de-loops, and the professional drivers who pilot those things actually prepare for their stunts by training in airplanes, because they pull a full 7 Gs when they make their way through the Hot Wheels life-size loop. And then also on display this year will be a 1967 Chevrolet Camaro, which was the very first Hot Wheel ever produced. So that will be on display as well, but it will be a life-size version of that, a fully functional, drivable Hot Wheels Corvette Camaro 67. So all that and a lot more coming up at the Canadian International Auto Show. There will be the usual Automotive Journalists Association of Canada awards presentations as well, presenting the Canadian cars, trucks, SUVs, electric vehicle awards, best vehicles of the year. So lots to see and do at the auto show. And that, again, starts tomorrow with Media Preview Day, which I may attend. I haven't decided if I'm going to be, well, I'm not sure if I'll be able to or not. I have credentials to go. I have to just determine if I can spare the time to get away. It depends on what other news is likely to break over tonight. So if I'm not here tomorrow night, it's because I'm at that auto show in Toronto, and we may be going live from there during the day tomorrow, during Media Preview Day, not open to the public. So we get to see all the stuff unveiled and you know, just get up close and meet some of the industry people and maybe get some interviews with some of the automotive designers and engineers and see some of the concept cars maybe that they hopefully would bring this year. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. But I might be here. It depends. If there's big news on the news side, I'm inclined to stay here and navigate things from master control in the Maverick News Center. Right here at the mothership. So that's where we're at. Stay with me. I'll be right back after this.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals. Defenders of individual rights and freedoms. Credible. Trusted. Grounded in reality. Maverick News. Maverick News. Defending free speech. Free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay. We have another story about pro-Palestinian protesters, this time in the House of Commons. A handful of protesters. They interrupted question period today. They had to pause question period for several minutes while these chanting pro-Palestinian protesters delivered their slogans, and the Prime Minister definitely heard them. The Palestinian Youth Movement is accepting responsibility, or taking credit, if you will, for this demonstration. They unfurled banners in the public gallery of the House of Commons. How they got them in there, I don't know, because I think there's a ban on that stuff, but somehow they got their banners in there. But I've seen them turning away Canadian people carrying Canadian flags who were up there, fighting for freedom. Turned those folks away, but somehow these guys got right into the House so that they could call for an arms embargo. They got up on their feet. They were able to chant for about 90 seconds their well-known slogan now, Free Palestine and Stop Arming Israel. We have some video of what happened Let me just cue this up and share this with you so you can see what happened today. I know also yesterday, pro-Palestinian protesters made their way into a building, an office building, that is the home of Canada's Defense Department, or an arm of Canada's Defense Department. They just made their way into the lobby, and ultimately, I don't think anything really serious happened. But here we go. Here's Justin Trudeau in the House.
General
La vérificatrice générale a souligné certaines questions très inquiétantes auxquelles il va falloir répondre. C'est pourquoi nous voulons que toutes les autorités enquêtent sur cette inconduite et cette éventuelle enfreinte à la loi. C'est quelque chose d'important que nous prenons très au sérieux, Monsieur le Président.
And then, of course, as protocol requires, the audio is muted. Just let this roll so you can see. No audio, they mute it. I'll stay with the video here. And you could hear them clearly in the background. Wide shot. Escorted out of the House of Commons.
Colleagues.
Chers collègues.
And we'll dump out of that. So yeah, the House of Commons Security and Parliamentary Protective Police Service ushered those protesters out into the vestibule. They were held there for several minutes. And then they were escorted out of the West Block. They continued to chant. So they took a short break after that in the House. I don't know if they were actually arrested or just escorted out of the building. I don't think they were actually arrested. So they've issued a statement, this group, and they're saying that we are a group of concerned citizens that's against genocide of Palestinians, and our country is not only complicit but aiding in the genocide of Palestinians. And they say they refuse to be silent and let business continue as usual while Canada sells arms to Israel. And then NDP leader Jagmeet Singh, right on cue, then asked Trudeau in the House about authorizing $28.5 million in new military spending for Israel's government. And Trudeau says that Canada has not issued any new export permits since the October 7th attack. A hot button issue, to be sure. And there is a picture here from the Canadian press, and it appears the protesters did have handcuffs placed on them. Let me just bring up the photo to show you but I'm not sure if there were actual arrests made. I guess that's an arrest, right? Yeah. So that much is not really clear. I don't think they laid any charges, because I don't see any statement from police here. I don't see any other indication the charges were laid. If I'm incorrect about that, I will correct it, hopefully by the end of this broadcast. So that's where things stand with that. Okay. All right, ladies and gents, I think it's time to go to the phones. How about that? It is now getting close to the top of the hour, and we'll give you guys a chance to weigh in. I'd really like to hear from some new callers, if possible, tonight. So if you haven't called in before, please consider doing that. We'd love to hear some new voices on the other end of the line. And we do have a new phone number for you to call. Let me bring that number up for you. The number to call tonight is 1-900. Is that right? 900 or 902? Can't remember. No, it's 902, so let me get that down. It's 1-902 200 4222. There, I'll put the ticker up instead, and I'll correct this one. 1-902 200 4222. And I should also mention, as the phone lines get warmed up here, and let me get to, you know, we are going to be hosting an all-candidates debate for an upcoming by-election in Canada. Now, normally we don't get that deep into any kind of local politics, but this by-election is a little bit different given the level of interest that is focused on this riding of Durham, vacated by the former Conservative Party of Canada leader, Erin O'Toole. So it's up for grabs. And as a result, we're going to have an all-candidates debate right here on the Maverick News Channel on February 27th. So invitations have now been sent out to all of the candidates, and hopefully they all respond and all decide to participate in the program on that evening. But hard to say. I just know that the issues that are going to be front and center in the riding of Durham are the very issues that will affect Canadians and even Americans, honestly. Nationwide, continent-wide, worldwide. And that's why I want to do the all-candidates debate. I think that riding will serve as what I would describe as a bellwether for what is to come, an indication of what is to come in the next federal election in Canada, and maybe even give us an indication of what the political climate is like, if you will, in the United States. Okay, so the phone line's firing on all cylinders now. And we're ready to start taking calls anytime you guys are ready. They're up and running, so feel free to call in at 1-902 200 4222. Now, the candidates running in the riding of Durham, I will show you the list from the Elections Canada page. It's an interesting lineup of candidates. We have Grant Abraham representing this new party. He was just on our program and did a feature-length interview with us, representing the United Party of Canada. He is the leader of this brand new party, so we'll be watching that closely to see how well he does. He, at one point, did run, or tried to run, for the leadership of the Conservative Party of Canada, rebuffed, now heading up his own party, the United Party of Canada. Chris Borgia represents the New Democratic Party. Patricia Conlon, representing the People's Party of Canada. They have a big rally coming up, I see, in a few days, with the leader of the party, Maxime Bernier, attending. Pranay Gunti is an independent candidate. Jamil Javani, I think he is probably the favored to win. Definitely the favored to win, given that this riding is kind of a conservative stronghold. He's running for the Conservative Party of Canada, and he's a media veteran who I believe recently lost his job in the media. So there's an interesting story behind him. Kevin McKenzie represents the Green Party of Canada. Khalid Qureshi is representing the Centrist Party of Canada. I'm not real. I have to familiarize myself with their platform. Robert Rock is with the Liberal Party of Canada. I believe he once ran for the Conservatives, or was going to run for the Conservatives. He had ties to the Conservative Party, but this time around running for the Liberals, saying that the Conservatives no longer represent his values. And Adam Smith, he's running for the Rhinoceros Party. Okay. The Rhinoceros Party, I think they, generally speaking, kind of poke fun at politics. So we'll see where all that goes. That, again, February 27th. And we will be doing that all online. It'll be an opportunity to meet the candidates, explore all these issues that affect not only the riding of Durham, but Canada as a whole, and even, some international issues will be discussed as well. So I hope everybody can join us on February 27th at 7 p.m. That will be the time for that forum, if not debate. And we will be allowing the viewers, you guys, and hopefully more people from the local community there too, to weigh in and ask questions of the candidates. It will be an interactive online event. Stay with me. Don't forget to call right now at 1-902-200-4222.